This is channel 253. Beep, boop, boop.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain podcast.
I always thought beer was sort of like a classist thing. It was just like, there's something about like, I'm going to go have a beer after work.
It's gritty.
And then there's something even more about like, when your friend comes, you're like, I'm going to buy you a beer. Like when someone buys you a beer, that's like, even when you're like, oh, I'm not drinking or I can't have another one. It's like, fuck, you're drinking that beer. Right? It's like, to me, like that's a huge
Shout out to Dry January.
Right. It's just like but you know, like it's a cool, I don't know. Yeah. It's always just resonated with me that it was just like we're at the end of our work days. We're just like, you know, we're all in this together type of thing.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, coming to you guys from the Historic Parkway Tavern in Tacoma, Washington, talking about all of your favorite local beer nerd shit. And this week is very local beer nerd shit, because we have an awesome guest who has done a lot for Tacoma beer. My name is Matt McLaren. We are out when we're on Swarner today, but Doug Mackey's on the mic for this one.
He speaks.
What's up, Doug?
Hey, great.
Great. Great is what's up.
Great is what's up. Perfect. I just missed it. I just thought it would be a different question.
Off to a good start. I know. How you doing, Doug?
I'm fine.
Good. You should have said nothing much.
I tried to turn it around, but I was too busy looking at dials.
So Doug is doing double duties on mic and also still our wonderful producer. And then Sean Jackson is here.
Hello, everyone.
What's up, dude?
Another beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Amen.
Nips are where they should be. All the things. Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, our guest today is a local business owner, so very Tacoma-focused episode, and has done just a shitload for the beer world in this area, and we're pumped to talk about it. Sean, who are we talking to?
The one and only Chris Miller from the Red Hot.
Yay!
Yeah.
Greetings, everybody.
What's up, dude?
How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Excellent. What are you drinking?
Zogel Kolsch from Zogel House.
Oh, all right. That beer's fucking good.
Dude, everything they make is delicious.
Everything they make
good.
is delicious.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't work directly with Zogel House, but they make a beer that I get to sell, and it's the Shimaitoshi like yuzu lager. Mm-hmm. And when I first heard about that stuff, I thought it was gonna be bullshit. And then I found out who made it, and I was like, actually, we should probably try that. And then it turned out it was fucking awesome because like Alan makes the best goddamn German beer, and it's like a German Helles with like yuzu zest in it. And it's so good. The dude just does everything.
I'd had it before they were like distributed, and then when it was like Bowie was transitioning to like River Barrel and that like, and they were like, oh, we got this brand. Like every week they would have new brands, and then they were like, oh, we picked up Zoiga. I was like, whoa,
you're like, fuck, what a swing. that was kind of their first like, damn son. That's a good beer. Sean, what do you have, man?
I've got the Wander German Pils.
Yeah.
And the Midnight Sun 2020, the Curse Barley Wine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How's that thing going?
It's at a great point in its barley wine life.
Okay, good.
Really good one.
I got to try that actually before we finish, because the whole story behind that beer.
Oh, yeah. It was
how you guys all cursed all of us.
It was very appropriately named.
It seriously was.
So we're supposed to go up to Anchorage and brew this at Midnight Sun. And it was AJ from Cascades.
Yep.
I think
Cascades guys.
His mother passed away, and Jeff Lee made it to the trip, but I think when he pulled up into the parking lot, he got the phone call that his father had passed away, and I couldn't make it, Ron couldn't make it, and then the whole Great Quieting happened, and
not that long after that the beer was made.
This is supposed to be a second trip to go blend it together, but
it was named The Curse before COVID even happened.
Yeah.
And then then everything shut down.
Cherry on top.
Yeah, man.
The shit Sunday.
I was like, you guys are gonna go back up there. I was giving Andy shit because I was like, you for sure cursed all of us, man. And I was like, you're gonna go back up there and like pull the fucking barrel off the rack, and like the Jumanji drums are gonna start playing and shit. Like,
Yeah.
just release another plague on the world.
Yep.
But then you guys brought it home, and it's fucking delicious.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to try it now.
So thank God for that.
I have Ravenna's Oops All Nelson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It was just delicious. Ravenna might be which I've gushed about before. It's probably the brewery that I drink the most that I don't sell myself. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've had a bad beer from Ravenna ever.
Who are all these people?
They're just hanging out.
Well, who are they and what are they drinking?
We don't have time for that.
What's your
We're
name?
making time.
Actually, that's my old friend Chris. You guys haven't met him, but he's an old friend.
What are you drinking, Chris?
I have an E9 sour.
E9 Sour. See there? Content.
For the record, we do have a 2 Chris limit, so another
What's your
Chris
name?
shows
And he
up.
was
we're
here
like,
first.
yeah, sorry, you
Better
can't.
not be a Chris right
It's
there.
not happening today, so better luck next time.
And then Kristen just walked in too. What's up, dude? So yeah, man. I mean, like, there's a ton of stuff we can talk about, but I am like, you and I have never really talked about what made you open up the Red Hot in the first place. So for anybody who doesn't know, Chris is the proprietor of the Red Hot on 6th Ave in Tacoma, the like world famous Red Hot, which I don't think is an understatement because it's like on everybody's top 5 things to do in Tacoma list, and it has been for a long time. And these guys go through more unique kegs than I think any other place in Tacoma
Thanks, man.
per month, which is crazy. And like as I've said before, they've produced like some of the most decorated beer professionals in this industry in this area, which is like a testament to how seriously they take it. And I don't know, man. Like, what's kind of the short story of like how that started?
It's
and
a
how
weird story.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Before I start, let me just mention that I've listened to you guys' podcast, and everybody, I'm like, whoa, these people are like smart and really like well respected in the industry. Like, I have no idea how any of this works outside of the 4 walls of the Red Hot. So
I don't know,
let me
man.
just preface that.
So
That's not true.
Like, I know how to run a Red Hot, but like, if you put me in the Parkway, I would just be like, I don't know what the fuck to do.
What about a Tacoma Beer Fest?
Yeah. Those are
I
old
mean-
days, man.
Yeah, but that was. I mean, I don't know if a lot of folks know that, but I mean,
Yeah.
one of the reasons that we still have that founding father.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that was. It's one of
That's real
the
shit.
pioneers.
fuck yeah, dude.
Yep.
I started. This is sort of it's kind of a long story, but
Perfect. We got an hour.
I just lived in the area. I used to work construction. Like, I was a carpenter and I was a foreman for a couple companies. I mainly did like trim and remodeling and stuff like that. Fancy stuff for rich people, you know. Before like you know, Beacon Hill was Beacon Hill, you know,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. And so I was just pretty much just enjoying a career in that, and then I got pretty much a career-ending spinal injury from that. And so,
Damn.
but that's all I had done since I'd got out of high school.
Yeah.
Like, I was a good student, I made good grades, but fuck, I just hate school, man. Like,
Other
Word.
than rock and roll,
yeah, I just
Fucking
have like
word.
construction
an
and rock and
authority.
roll.
I just have an authority thing, I think. And so I was just like, you know, I was pretty much laid up for a year at home. I couldn't really do anything or move that well. And so I was just like, Christ, what am I going to do? Like, and at the time, my brother was a bartender, and he had worked at like the Comet in Seattle and stuff like that. And he was in bands and stuff, and he'd like always go on tour. And that's sort of why he was, you know, had the bartender lifestyle. Well, then he sort of started like settling down in his older years, i.e. 30s. And he moved to Port Orchard and started a cocktail lounge with my parents, like, you know, and I was involved in it, but minuscule.
Sure.
I built it, you know, and things like that.
Yeah.
And would help whenever. And so we were sort of coming to the tail end of that. And then while I was laid up at home, I was like, maybe I should just open up a business, right? And so I remember the first time I was like, hey, I have this idea. And like nobody was too hip on that idea. They were like, Which every time, like at the beginning when I was like, I want to open up a bar, I'm going to serve beer and hot dogs, everyone was like, what? Like, are you out of your mind?
Up in Port Orchard? No way.
So, and like during this time, I'd also met like the person who's now my wife, and she was just like, well, dude, we'll just do it. Like, we'll figure it out. And then sort of within all of this, my family came on board, and they were like, yeah, like, let's do it, right?
Yep.
Side note, like, we don't have, quote, money. Like, my dad was a nuclear pipe fitter, worked for the DOD, and my mom was a cosmetologist, and my brother was a bartender.
Yeah.
And so people always ask, like, oh, who were your investors when you guys started? I was like, it's Visa and MasterCard. Like, we've been fully self-funded and just pretty much,
Damn, dude.
like, you know, especially with the help of my folks, like, just, you know, pretty much had everything we had riding on it.
Yeah.
And so they were like, okay, so we'll start this bar, this tavern idea. And so that's sort of where it started. And so we got the space there on 6th Ave. And
Yep.
Yeah.
dude, I remember building that out. So we did all the work. Like the amount, looking back now from like the space we're in now and the size of our crew now, looking back at like how much we did that for is like shocking to me.
Dude.
Like there's no way it could be done again. Like it was honestly really a lot of luck
Really?
and stuff. Well,
Like
I mean,
timing wise and
yeah. So, dude, I remember building it and it was like art on the Ave. You know, but we were still building out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave the door open."
Fuck yeah!
Because I just had the door. I just built the bar,
Yep.
and I was like, "Yes!" Like I was really proud of it.
people are gonna poke their head in and go, "Hey, what's
Come
going
in and
on
let
here?"
me tell you about our new business. And every motherfucker that walked in there said, "It's like it's not gonna work." Every
Really?
one of them, dude. It was the most
That's the worst.
bummer day I've ever had. Like everybody was like, "Good luck." Like it's never gonna work. I was just like, God damn, like, what's going on? Like, did I just totally like ruin my family?
God
You know?
damn,
And
Tacoma.
I remember I was like, I'm gonna be down there till it's over. And I was like, I fucking shut the door, locked it. I'm just like, fuck this, man. Like, this is just terrible. But then it's sort of, you know, like I said, I've always had a problem, you know, with people telling me.
Sure.
I was like, you know,
Sure.
and it was sort of like, you know, like the after school movie. I was like, fuck them, I'll show them.
Yeah, hell yeah. Dude,
You
I
know?
could totally see, like, you hear that 20 times, you're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to fucking prove every one of those motherfuckers wrong.
And so when we started, original Red Hot, it was 997 square feet, and that's with both bathrooms.
Yeah.
So it was like nothing.
Yeah, if you guys ever went into the old one, it was fucking small, man.
Yeah. I used to work there by myself, man. And
Yeah.
like, I would like make food, pour beers, and then like we just had, I think, a crew. Like both my parents worked there.
Yeah.
I worked there. First employee, Jennifer Foster. Shout out to Jen. She's I still talk to her. She's married to my best friend Cody.
All right.
But yeah, I was just like shocked, you know, but like we had a pretty good reception out of the gate. And I was just like, wow, I had no idea I would sell this many hot dogs. Like it was shocking.
Yeah.
So kind of had to, you know, in your head, you have these like plans of like, okay, well, it's going to take this long, and then I'm going to hire someone. And it was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have to hire people. And then it was like, but nobody who was in the industry was like, I don't know what I'm fucking with that.
I'm all in.
So like, I would even say, even to this day, like a majority of our staff came from like baristas. We used to hire baristas because I was like, oh, well, you're used to dealing with people who can be kind of difficult to deal with.
Sure.
You know, and it's just like, all you got to do is be cool to people.
Yeah.
You know, so
you take a barista right when they hit their 21st birthday, and you're like, hey,
yeah,
just
dude,
so you
a
know.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
you
dude.
know, but, and I just started like hiring people who I knew. Hired my friend Sean Horst. He's still with us today.
Fuck, I love
He's
Sean.
been with us since week 2.
Damn.
He started as a door guy, and so he's been with us for 15 or 16 years now.
Damn.
And we just started like, you know, people would like, hey, my friend's looking for a job. They're cool. I'm like, okay, well, let's hire. I'm like, don't you want to interview him? I'm like, no, just tell him to come.
I need a body.
Yeah. And so we just sort of like figured it out on our own and just kind of tried to do it ourselves. But honestly, since I'm here at the Parkway, I would say like the biggest help to us was these 3 motherfuckers used to come in, and it was Mackenzie, and Big D and Matty B. Like, cheers to Matty B.
Cheers to Matty B.
Right. And those guys, because like when I opened the Red Hot, I had no idea the Parkway existed.
All right.
Because I'm not like, I didn't come from like a craft beer background.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to.
And you were living in Tacoma at that time.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, were you? Okay,
Yeah,
I
I've
thought
lived
you-
here.
Okay, I thought you were still.
No, I've lived here for 24 years.
Okay.
But those guys used to come in every day, or what seemed like, like recalling back through the fog and the haze, and they started they would like tell people, and so then like Parkway people started coming there, like staff, a lot of staff from here used to come, and then just like starting to getting to know people, and that's when I started to meet like Shane and Doug from E9, like they cleaned our lines, and so they would come over, and so it was just like I sort of lucked out at the beginning. A lot of like industry people were coming in like during the daytimes when I worked, and then it would just be like sort of like mouth to mouth, and they'd be like, oh yeah. So right out of the gate, we had a large portion of our crowd was industry people, and we're coming there, and so
That's like
that
a
helped us out.
it's like a weirdly effective,
Yeah.
almost like a marketing
Yeah.
trend kind of.
Yeah.
There's nothing weird about it.
Well, yeah, not
Yeah,
weird,
I mean,
but like
it's-
I get asked a lot by like people who are non-industry, like, hey, so like, where do you guys all drink? You know,
Right.
I get that a lot, and then they're like, oh, we got to check that place out, and it's
Yeah.
like the first question people ask me when they first meet me to find out what I do.
Yeah.
And if you're on that list, you're giving people an extra reason to like go to the place. You know.
Side note: do you have like a hideout bar?
Do I?
Yeah, like a bar you go that like nobody would think that you would go to. So when you go there, nobody will be there. Do you?
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me what it is, but you
well,
have one.
it's less hideouty now.
Is it
Freaking naps, man.
Nabs?
Yeah.
What?
But now they have lights in there.
Yeah,
Seriously,
Yeah.
it's fucked
Killed
up.
the vibe,
I'm
dude.
like, oh, like I can actually see who's in here.
mine used to be the beach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I used to go to the beach all the time.
Nice.
I was on the opening crew of Pomodoro when the Cool Series opened it, and I was on lunch break, and it was rough. It was a rough open.
I remember, dude.
Oh my!
I remember
fucking
some
God.
stories.
I heard so much. I've never been hated as a server so much.
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't fucking go back and cook your food. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
but so it was like, and I did my life. I've done a lot of double shifts. So it was my in between break before I started my evening shift. I was in there getting my my whiskey and beer on, and freaking Joe came in and sat down right fucking in the booth next to me, and I was like, okay, don't fucking laugh. Just don't laugh, and you got this. And that's how dark it was.
yeah.
Literally escaped when my boss sitting right next to me, and
Nice. Yeah.
and everything was cool. Like,
Dude, I used to hit naps too. I love naps. I think anybody like from like, how old are you? Are you in your mid 40s?
I'm later into
Later in the 40s? Me too.
yeah.
I think like, and not to be like, well, in our day, but it kind of is like, with that,
Yeah.
there's definitely a divide of like, but naps used to be like high on that list.
Yep.
And I think, yeah, a lot of places like the Unicorn. Do you ever used to go to the Unicorn? Right?
Yeah.
I used to go to the Unicorn every Thursday to watch wrestling.
Oh shit.
Before the Great Quieting,
With
I was
Daryl.
starting to go really south,
Yeah.
like south of 56, and get out there.
Okay.
And I was like, oh yeah, like there's some fucking rad ass places
Yeah.
down there, like the Mountain.
Dude, best chicken ever at the Mountain. Right? The fried chicken there was insane.
Yeah, like there's a lot of cool spots down like
Yeah.
56th Street and South that aren't on South Tacoma Way, because that's actually a
Super-
vibrant
yeah.
district.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I love finding a good hidey spot.
Right?
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my God, I don't have to talk to anybody. Which I love talking to people. Like,
Yeah.
But like sometimes you're just like, I'm out of words, man. Like I just
Sometimes it's not why you go to the bar.
Yeah.
When Camp Bar used to be the Grub Cage, when it
Yeah.
was Acme, because I worked at the Harmon back then, and I lived on Hilltop, so I'd walk down to the Harmon, and then if I get off, I would just stop. I would like walk past my house and go to the Grub Cage,
Yeah.
and like have a beer and shoot pool like by myself for 2
Yeah.
hours and just fucking like hide out basically on like a Wednesday night.
Yeah. I was one of
That
the
was the
like I remember the first time going to the Grub Cage.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm hungry. And they're like, we don't have food. I'm like,
We have popcorn.
okay.
You're like, why you called this, man?
It was so good. And then, like, I remember, like, over the year, it was like the big Tacoma joke.
There was
like,
a fucking
we'll go to the grub cage.
burger
I'm
on
like,
the
they don't
thing.
have food there.
No.
Yeah.
They had popcorn.
They have everything else you need.
I have the best idea. We're gonna rename ourselves. It's gonna be the Parkway Cocktail Emporium.
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, sorry we don't have that, but while you're here, do you want to be here?
But also, so like jumping back to like when we started, like those three definitely helped out. But also, we started doing like social media like really early on.
Yeah.
We started doing Twitter.
Word.
And I remember
Yeah.
people used to just like make fun of me. And they would be like, oh, you're on the twatter, the tweeter. I'm just like, well, like, I'm struggling. Like, I'm just, you know, like, my family invested in me. Like, I have to do whatever. And
Yeah.
I remember doing it, and people were like, that'll never catch on. And I was like, motherfuckers. Like, and then the same, like, we started, you know, like, we were one that first started doing, like, a Facebook and stuff like that. And people are like, why are you doing all that? I'm like,
Because we need
telling you,
something, man.
like, you have to have it, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how we started out, and like we stayed there for I can't even remember now, man.
7 years.
7
right?
years.
Yeah.
7 to 14.
7 years, and so, and this is the other
everything-
thing I have to clear up too, because people are like, I like the old Red Hot, and I'm like, I fucking love the old Red Hot.
Yeah.
I loved working there. I loved hanging out there. Like, I loved it too. But what had happened is like we were starting to get like really busy. But we were only busy on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like slammed.
Yeah.
And people were like, so then the regs would be like, there's fucking nowhere to sit. Because I mean, we could only fit like
30
legally.
people, like,
I think legally
14
we were
people.
like
yeah.
49. No.
That sounds like
I don't
so
know,
much.
dude. That number was just like something
Yeah.
on the wall because it was just kind of ridiculous sometimes.
Yep.
But so anyway, like all the regs were like, I can never find a seat, so all my regs stopped coming. And it's like, you know, dude, if you're running like a community-based tavern, like you're nothing without regs.
Yep.
Like you're not going to make it. And so I was just like, what are we going to do? Like, because then it turned into like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're like dead.
Yeah.
Like shockingly dead. And I was just like, if we continue on this path, we're going to shut down because those 3 days are not enough to support the rest of the week. Not how we were doing business then.
Right. And especially if you're capped on like how much you can actually
Yeah.
do, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, it was really the only issue was like, well, I just got to add more seats. Well, how do you do, you know? So I'd even thought of, we tried just taking over a portion of next door because that used to be the Wedding Bell. It was the dress shop at the time. And it just like wouldn't work out. And so I was like, we're just going to move the whole thing over there. And so that was like a huge leap because we went from 997 square feet to like 3,500, which is still shocking to me. But
Probably without any naysayers, right? It's never gonna work.
it's never going to work.
It's not the same.
But, you know, honestly, too, the way that because, you know, when we were selling beer, when we started sort of in this game, I think like you didn't pay attention to like the quality as much as we do now, or the care and like, you know, refrigeration and draft tech, like everything was a little bit kind of dumbed down and nobody, you know, so we didn't have a walk-in cooler. So at first, and I remember we got a tiny, we were just all under bar coolers. So it was like when a keg went dead, you couldn't do anything like, because you would have to wait till you could get cold beer. And stuff like that. And so, but then we bought a tiny walk-in cooler. It's still there. It's like 6 by 10 or 6 by 12 or something. And we started like triple stacking kegs in there, and it was just storage, and it was outside. And so you would, when a keg would blow, you would have to like go get a new keg, drag it in. Fucking, it was like a pain in the ass, man. And then like you can't do anything because you just shook that bitch up, you know. So you're just like waiting.
Didn't solve anything.
Yeah.
But I remember like you know your system of blowing through a keg.
Yeah.
Because you had something coming in.
Yeah.
That was genius. Like,
Yeah.
like oh yeah, this is $2.
Yeah.
So you guys were early on like kill the keg.
Yeah.
deals,
Oh yeah,
dude.
like this
Yeah.
goes tonight. Like here
Yeah.
we go. Like I loved that. Like,
Yeah. But again, I was like, different different times, man. Like I remember, like what was the hot beer then? Really, like Lagunitas IPA. That was like earth shattering. You know, when that hit. Now that's just like whatever. But at the time, that was like big shit,
Fuck
man.
yeah, dude. Ballast Point.
Racer-
and, like,
Racer 5.
Racer 5.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Like we still talk about it. Like when Racer 5 got here, we used to have to buy 2 kegs at a time because we'd put it on and that fucker would be gone in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And people would get like pissed, like they would be upset that they didn't get any. So we would, and then we'd during the week, like we'd save it and be like, we're gonna tap Racer 5 on Thursday. We're gonna tap it on.
Put it on
blah, blah,
Twitter, like fucking.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And so it was like, it's not really like that anymore. To a point it is. There's still whale beers that people chase and stuff like that, but I think like, just in my opinion, like I think Untapped kind of like dumbed that down some, like kind of made it too easy, right? Like you didn't have to hunt it down. You know what I mean?
I love the not posting our list on Untapped, just because.
Yeah, we quit too, man.
People would come in and they'd yell at me.
Yeah.
Like they'd be like, I was trying to decide where to go and get a beer, and I was looking for your list, and I couldn't find it, and I was like, but here you are having a beer, so.
Yeah.
I don't really fucking understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, well, you had this on. I was like, well, that's why you need to come more often.
As someone who runs a bar, do you still find it shocking at like the shit people get upset about, don't you?
I don't know, man.
No?
My shock
Are you
value
just like,
these days
I don't
is-
care anymore?
It's tough to get a shock out of these nips. I
can see that.
It's just, yeah.
I guess I'm just still just
So many
Sean's
jumper
like,
cables.
you could hook a car
attached to
battery.
batteries. Like, it's like,
Which I totally get a point of it because right, they're a customer and you're like, we're providing a service. Like we're providing, like we're here to serve you and like you're gonna spend your money with us. Like, fuck, that's a huge deal and we want to keep you here. But then sometimes you're just like, really?
The
like,
kid
you're gonna
one.
bitch about that
Over this?
Yeah. Like, dude, let's make it something good.
When people
You know?
get pissed about the no minors allowed thing, that one always kind of
It's nonstop.
like, well,
Nonstop.
like
My
there
favorite
are
is,
places.
This is my favorite.
this
Is
just
like,
isn't one of them.
This ain't
you
one of them,
know?
yeah.
I know you guys are 21 and over.
Take your
but
kid to the fucking
can my-
dispensary and leave me alone.
I know you guys are 21 and up only, but can my baby come in?
But what did you just say?
Yeah. Or what about my kids? What about from like just till 6 o'clock? I'm like, no, it's like it's our license. It's
It's
you
like a
know.
law.
And they're like, but so and so, and you don't want to be. But you're almost like, just fucking go there. Then.
Yep.
We used to have Carla who used to work for us, and she had the best comeback ever. Was this lady was like, can I bring my baby in here? And she's like, does your baby have a valid 21 and up ID? And she was like, no. She's like, well, then she can't be in here. But I was like, that's the best way of telling someone without telling them no.
Yeah.
I was just like, but you broke it down to like exactly what it is. I was
Yeah.
like, God, that's just like such a perfect response. So,
Just over the line enough to
little,
like get a
little toupee and
Yeah.
a freaking little mustache for your baby. And look, I got the license.
but whatever. So, yeah, that's our origin story.
Sweet.
Now we've, I've got 25 coworkers. Mom and dad are still helping out. My brother, he's my business partner. He handles like the kitchen side of things. So if you ever look online, the Red Hot, that's me. TRH Kitchen, that's him.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, and so we just sort of like bombard it together, and yeah, I dig it. Still, no investors, man. Still just doing it our own.
Fucking rad.
Yep.
Yeah,
Creating
so-
jobs.
Yeah, I love it, man.
fucking rad.
I love my job. Like, I mean, ever since March of 2020, it's been difficult, but for everybody.
Yeah.
But like, I love Tacoma, man. I love like being a business owner here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
It's great.
we're gonna take a quick break, but I'm gonna ask you some specific questions about
All right.
that actually. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for hanging out. As we always do, I want to give a quick shout out to Channel 253. Doug, our amazing producer, who is on mic today, is Channel 253. Him and his partner Eric Hanberg run a wonderful local a wonderful network of local podcasts that cover all sorts of topics that have everything to do with Tacoma. There's education stuff, there's food stuff, and there's beer stuff, and local politics, and all sorts of stuff. So it's wonderful. All the hosts are great. They're local community members and leaders, and it's super informative, and it's a great way to stay connected to Tacoma. If you want to, which you absolutely should, but if you want to, please go support those guys at channel253.com/membership.
I
Perfect,
had
thanks.
no idea you guys were on that.
Yeah.
I listen to it all the time.
Do you?
Nate Bowling is the man.
Yeah, he is.
Dude, for mayor,
a
like
beast.
move back. Dude, yeah.
Move back.
Oh, that's great. Sorry.
Does he?
That's awesome.
He was here.
We wish you would too.
Yeah.
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 He seems pretty stoked over there.
Yeah, he just re-upped for another year.
Did he?
unfortunately.
Good for them, man.
Yeah, good for them, but
Bad for us.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when he first went overseas, and I was following his Instagram or whatever, and I was just like, "That's fucking amazing!" Like I had no idea. It's like total rube American. Just like I had no idea.
Yeah.
For those of you out here listening to that Nate Bowling is the host of the Nerd Farmer at
Yeah.
one of our
Right.
podcasts,
And,
and he's truly an amazing. person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A nationally recognized
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah, Bill Gates
from Tacoma.
interviewed him.
Yeah. Shout out
Bill
to Nate.
who?
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
That's William Gates.
We only know beer, man. So we were gushing about Tacoma and owning a business in Tacoma, which we've, part of the whole podcast is that Tacoma has this kind of crazy beer history, and it kind of ties into the industry as it is now. And it's so different here and I've been lucky to travel a lot for beer, and it just seems so different here than everywhere else. And I don't know, man, why Tacoma?
Honestly, originally I moved here because, like I said, I was in construction, and I was, I've lived in Olympia, I've lived in Seattle, I lived in Kitsap County, and so it was chasing work all the time. But Tacoma was centrally located, so within now this is really showing my age because back then, in the 90s, and you could get to Seattle in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You get to Olympia in 30 minutes. You get to Kitsap County in 30 minutes. You could get to Snoqualmie Bass in 30 minutes almost. So it was I'll just set up shop here. And so that's why I moved here.
Right.
Was just to be centrally located. But I had friends here, and just sort of I used to be in bands and stuff. And so just started fell into that kind of world. And I was just I'm just Girl Trouble, a band from, I don't know if anybody's not familiar with them, but very pro Tacoma. And so when I didn't live here, I was just they just make it seem so cool. But I'd been there, I'm as an outsider, you're just it's just another port city. But then, when you start hanging out there, like I said, it started being in bands and stuff. I was just dude, I just love the city here.
Yeah.
So I've been here ever since. I'll never move.
Word.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah,
man.
I've only been a couple other places where I would even consider moving.
Yeah.
And one of them is a fucking mirror image of Tacoma. It's Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, really?
And it's if Tacoma was built 200 years earlier, it would just be Providence.
Yeah.
It's it's artsy. It's on the water. There's parts that even look like they have a glass bridge area that looks an identical to it's. The only places that I've ever been are places that just remind me of here.
Yeah.
Where I'm I would live here. Oh, it's because it's just where I'm from.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay,
man.
fuck you, Providence. #1 on my hate list now.
It's really
Game
lovely.
on.
Right. That's, I think, when you're a lifer is when you hear someone kind of shit talk the city, and you're just whoa, you fucking
Listen,
mind your
man.
lip.
Yeah.
Whoa, so slow your roll here.
There's been some great shit talking too.
Yeah.
The Axis of Evil one was my favorite. Yeah.
What?
Bush Jr. I believe after the sniper, he called Tacoma the Axis of Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything evil
quite a
comes
badge.
from Tacoma. Thanks, Prez.
It's just so good. And it's changing too, but even, when we started the Red Hot, and it's not like that now, but pretty much, everything, you know, like you could start a business, like just yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like pretty easy to do so.
Sure.
If you were willing to take some like stupid chances. But, you know, I think too, and that's sort of, we had talked earlier about, I was saying something like, I was never really a beer nerd.
Yeah.
Like I sort of got into craft beer because, and this sort of, it wasn't because of sort of like, I'll just say what it was that it was like independent, and that not anybody, but like if you had the skills or at least like the desire to learn the skills, like, I mean, it's going to be a lot of work, but like you can do it.
You could make some shit.
Yeah. And so like when breweries would start up, you would be like, I know that person. I know the person that made that beer. Right. So I'm buying direct from them. There was no like, you know, curtain to peek behind.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was very much like face to face, very like, you know, like, hey, I'm an independent tavern and I'm buying beer from an independent brewery.
Yeah.
Right. Like that money's staying there. And
That's
then
actually still
those
kind of-
brewers would come deliver beer and then they would
Yeah.
eat and drink beer at my establishment. And so like, you know, I've always been a big proponent of being local, but it's like really like, it's like I'm giving you money, you're giving me money, and like we're keeping it together. Like, you know, for a lack of better terms, like it's sort of like a classist thing. It was just like I appreciated that. You know, it was like hey, we're sticking together.
Yeah.
Like we don't need these bigger companies and things like that to facilitate this sort of thing that we all like.
Yeah.
And that it sort of like kind of ties us. And that's, you know, that's why I decided to be beer only too, is like, I always thought beer was sort of like a classist thing. It was just like, there's something about like, I'm going to go have a beer after work.
It's gritty.
And then there's something even more about like, when your friend comes, you're like, I'm going to buy you a beer. Like when someone buys you a beer, that's like, even when you're like, oh, I'm not drinking or I can't have another one. It's like, fuck. You're drinking that beer, right? 'Cause like, to me, like that's a huge
Shout out to Dry January.
right? It's just like but you know, like it's a cool. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always just resonated with me that it was just like we're at the end of our work days. We're just like, you know, we're all in this together type of thing, and that's sort of what like mesmerized me about it. And then, you know, especially like the nano brewing explosion. Like, could that even happen these days? Like, I don't know, but you remember like Schooner Exact and Two Beers. Like those guys started off in like, you know, little half barrel
You
systems.
could come up from the garage back then, and I mean, to me, I would say no.
Right? I don't
Really,
either.
like you have to. I feel like you have to go experience. Probably, if you're going to do it right, I would say a number of breweries professionally. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Work the fucking bottling line, work the canning line. You know, get to the cellar room, like, and maybe different places that do things. You know, on different skill sets that they're good at. But like, just coming up like that.
So you're saying like,
I mean, you already have to be so insanely talented if you're just going to rise without
brewer.
commercial experience.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
And plus, like, too, like the demand now of the quality.
that's what's-
so much.
That's
right.
what's fucking different.
So high.
Because I think you could be a
now.
lot of other places and just like be a skilled home brewer and come up
Yeah.
and probably find some success. There's a lot of places where you could do that.
Yeah.
You probably cannot do that
Yeah.
in the Northwest anymore.
Yeah.
At least not a lot of parts of it.
That's what I appreciated about it. That's why I got into
It was
the business.
awesome back
and that's
then.
why I'm still in the business. I think
yeah,
it's
dude.
like I appreciate some of like experimentation with styles and you know, mixing styles, and like even if I don't like them, I still appreciate it. But just the fact that there are just, you know, people still who are just, you know, just commoners like the rest of us, for lack of a better term. You know, it's like they're still making this product, and you know, it's just like normal people, I guess. It's not like a faceless company that you know what I'm saying.
That's
I
legit.
do.
That
Yeah.
that exact attitude is probably the thing. It's probably the thing in Tacoma's DNA.
Yes.
That like
I agree.
we are. Hope you know we've tried to like contextualize, and especially like our like historical episodes of the pod, but like that exact fucking attitude has existed in Tacoma for 150 years.
Yeah. And like, you know, when we started, you know, talking about like how like we came up, like Jack or like McQuaid, like from the Swiss, like that guy helped me. I can't even tell you. Like the shit he helped us with was like, I mean, dude, the beer engine. Like, I mean, we haven't been serving cask lately because the demand's been down since 3 years ago.
Right.
But that was a Swiss cask engine. He fucking just gave that to me.
That's insane.
And then he was like, whenever someone else starts a place and they want to do cask, you have to give them.
That's
And I was like, okay. Do you remember you might when we had pinball machines in the restaurant?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember when we
much
took
so.
them out and put in that booth?
Yeah.
Everyone was super pissed about that too.
Yeah.
That booth came from Jag. That used to be a Swiss booth. And then I was like,
Holy shit.
Oh, how much do I owe you? And he's like, oh, nothing. I'm like, dude. I'm like, here's $100. Like, take your wife to dinner. Like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
why would a competing business help you out like that?
Well, that's the thing, man, is I think, especially then, like I said, I got love from these guys. Like the Parkway crew would come in. And back then, it was definitely like rising tides rise all ships.
Fuck yeah.
It wasn't like your competition. It was like, hey, now there's another place selling this product in Tacoma and that more people are going to be made aware of it. And so,
Yes.
and it was even so much to where someone would come in and they would be like, hey, do you have this on top? You're like, no, Parkway does.
Fuck yeah.
And you would send them there. And then like people would just show up and they were like, we were just at the Parkway. They said you had this on and things like that. And then like, I don't know if it used to be a thing, man, when like special kegs would come to town. Like, how do I say it? If everybody didn't get a keg, then nobody wanted it. I don't know. Is that hard to believe?
Ooh.
Because it was like people were just like sticking together. Like you're not gonna, because all the
You're not
good
gonna pit
kegs.
us against
The
each
thing
other.
back then, it was like all the good kegs would go to Seattle, and then we would be like,
Oh, yeah.
you fucking drive right through Tacoma with those kegs.
The great
Yeah.
frustration.
Right. Yeah.
Portland to Seattle.
Yeah. And
All
so
the stuff
it was
heading
sort of
right
this thing,
through.
and it
Yep.
was like someone would get us like they offered me this, and then you would sort of like go to bat for your homies, like, yo, you need to bring up kegs for these guys too, and it was like a big thing.
Yeah.
But then somewhere in the fucking ether, one day someone was like, I got this. We're the only keg in Tacoma. And I was like, fucking end of an era. Like, that's it, man. But whatevs,
That being said, too, like
We all do it now, right?
we talked about, Donna, like you were part of the Tacoma Brews Tribune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Yeah.
fucking A,
no
yeah.
way.
Well, not the Brews Tribune, but the tasting group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool Kids
Yeah.
Club.
He didn't write articles.
Yeah, all right.
But
Donna-
he was part of the.
Yeah. I knew
He
Donna.
tasted the dump bucket.
Yeah.
Many a
That-
times.
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
even going to say it right now that the dump bucket, drinking the dump bucket, that was fucking my idea. I'm going to say it right now.
All right.
Yeah.
And writing reviews on it.
Yeah. I had known Donna before she was like into beer as heavy as she was, but like Donna, she does not get a lot of credit for what she did for beer. In
No, she
Tacoma.
fucking doesn't.
Amen.
Because I remember like, before we were just like, hey, do you like this beer? You're like, fuck yeah, it's great. That was it. Donna was the first one that I would hear talking about like trends in styles and how to order to like meet those trends, but not too like, you don't want to order too like,
Yeah.
just from like listening to her. It wasn't like she was like giving me advice, but she would just from hearing her talk,
Yeah.
you would pick up on these like nuances and how she and I think, and it was like we all sort of like from osmosis kind of like, oh yeah, sort of
you're
learn
right.
and seeing because, she had the coolers, the few coolers at Tacoma Boys, and then like,
Yeah. So she
I
had-
remember just going in there and like looking like, what is Donna buying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, and you could see just like watch what people were buying.
Yep.
Because that's where like all the serious people used to go.
Yep.
And so, but yeah, she did a lot for what is craft beer in Tacoma.
Did-
And I don't even know if she knows, what
We tried
the
to tell her.
effect. Yeah. Because like, it was pretty big.
I don't think so.
It was like I think the first time I heard, I guess for lack of better sense, like a professional, right? Because
Like
we
a
were all
beer
just like having
professional.
fun, like we're fucking drinking beer and hot dogs,
Yeah.
like what the like we're getting paid. This is crazy.
A non-social media influencer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before it was a
Absolutely.
coined phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, yeah. So yes, I used to drink with them like here in this room, and I remember like the dumb bucket. I was like, we should fucking drink that. And then it was just like, everyone was like, what the fuck? But then we did it. But, that was a fun group, man, because, you guys know, like, or especially if you like read about beer, I used to always like bag on it because people would steal terms from like the wine world.
Oh yeah.
And they would be like, oh, this beer has a nice barnyard element. I'm like, I've worked in barnyards. And if you think that's pleasant, like, bro, I ain't drinking that. But, like drinking it, I remember being like, I forget what it was, man, but I remember sitting here and I was like, when you walk in the bathroom, like when they put fresh urinal cakes in, like I'm getting that. And, right?
Yo.
So at first, and everyone was like,
Fresh urinal
who
cake?
fucking invited this guy? but then it started like, I think like we all started having fun with it. But then it also like helped, it helped me develop like, how to explain beer to people, especially people who might not drink beer.
Dude, even if you're being silly, like practicing evocative language is like a useful skill.
Yeah.
Like it really is.
But it was a lot of fun, man. And we would, it was, I wouldn't say I was a core group. I came later.
Sure.
But then I would say I was like version 2.0.
No, man.
Because then other people started coming.
I would say 1.2.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, because it was pretty small, and you were
Fucking
in
AOL
pretty fast.
CDs. Like,
And another good thing you did, like as far as like the tasting beer, like I remember you would get the 33 beers.
Yep.
Like the
We still carry those,
descriptive
yeah.
passport, right?
Yeah.
You'd have your employees go through.
We still
and,
do
like,
it, yeah.
It's fucking great
awesome.
system.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know how many like times like Red Hot employees, like not so much now, but like at least especially when you started the program, would come in and they'd be consciously trying to drink beers that they normally wouldn't.
Yes.
And then trying to think about them and describe them.
Yes.
And that was fucking huge. And a lot of those people, like Matt said, are like out in the universe now, and like
in this industry.
that was a big deal.
So we started doing that for. I remember in the first time I heard it. This is what started was someone ordered whatever Belgian beer we had on at the time, and I overheard that we're like, well, what does that beer taste like? And one of our coworkers said, we're like, it's Belgian-y. I was just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, we're charging, a premium price for a premium product. Like, yo, like, you got to have some knowledge with that. So we started doing the 33 books. But, instead of, I'm like, you don't have to write a description of the beer. Just like write 3 words that you think, so that when people ask you, you have something to say.
Yeah, totally.
And not barnyard.
Right.
Christ.
Yeah, people don't. There's not a lot of people who come to the Red Hot, and it's probably different now, but certainly early when you guys were like putting shit on that nobody's ever fucking heard of.
Yeah.
Like, 85% of the people that came in recognize 2 of the 20 beers you guys have.
Yeah.
So it's like, you need a tour guide. You need somebody who's going to walk you through that shit.
Yeah.
And go like, what do you normally drink? Okay, Guinness. Cool.
Exactly.
Let me help you out because I got something that is made locally or, whatever. And it will be just as good or better, right?
Yeah.
And you'll pay an extra $1, but I promise you it's worth it and here's why. And like, you need a tour guide.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
especially
just-
now. Like,
yeah,
we all know the
especially
prices
now.
on this stuff, right?
Fuck
like,
yeah, dude.
you got to have some. And can you? Like my worst thing when I think of like a customer is like they buy a beer, and you're dropping some coin on that thing, and then you don't like it.
Yeah.
Like the stuff, like it's serious, like
That's rough.
So it's like be able to have at least a handful of descriptors and like, but like you said, like what do you normally drink?
Yeah.
Okay, well if you want to stay in that realm, we'll point you to this direction.
Yep.
That's we have lots of crazy stuff we do like behind the scenes at the Red Hot to like facilitate that, like our chalkboards and stuff. Like I don't know if you ever noticed, but like everything's always in the same spots.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and it's sort of like even for regs, a lot of regs. Like I really appreciate that because like I only drink IPAs. I know exactly where all the IPAs. You know, it's things like that.
Totally.
But
That's
yeah,
all
just trying to make it like comfortable for people to come in. But I think, like you said, like staff, like you guys have always done a great job of that too, of like knowing like where to point people.
Yeah,
You wouldn't be around if you didn't. You can only.
No,
get,
I'm really
you can
tough
only
to
get
kill.
So,
Like, as
you can only
like,
get so far. In
Case
those
in
good
point,
looks,
like,
sir.
but that was really it was really innovative and thoughtful, and like it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
That was really smart. And I have another question that's sort of open ended.
Okay.
Has there been any other businesses in Tacoma that have been featured on Food Network?
Oh yeah, Southern Kitchen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Dirty Oscars.
Oh yeah, DOA.
They
was
were
on.
like
Okay.
way.
Yeah, they were one of the first.
Yeah.
Fuck,
There's been a
one
few.
more. There's been a few.
Okay.
Yeah. But you guys have been on like Travel Channel and shit too.
Travel
Like, you
Channel,
guys have
Food
been
Network.
all over, man.
And I guess the two parts of that was like the hot dog concept. Like, well,
Yeah.
who's on Food Network now? Motherfucker.
Yeah.
But also like, and I might be way off base, but wasn't there a fake Guy Fieri story floating around?
There always, yeah. There's always been. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but like, there's always been like
What are you talking about?
people would just come in and be like, "Oh, I saw you on TV on this and this." I'm like, "Nope,
No, you didn't.
not us." Like,
No.
oh no, man.
It was a person that was in town impersonating Guy Fieri.
Really?
really.
Yeah.
I've not heard that.
When you said
Tell me all about it.
When you
I
said
feel
fake
like-
Guy Fieri story, this is not what I thought you meant.
Yeah, I feel like this is. I might have to confer with Jeff Lee.
I got
but-
your back on this one.
Yeah, he was going into places like it was either Justin Johnson or Jeff Lee that I got this from, but like someone came in
Both
and was
traditionally reliable sources.
Yeah.
like, yeah, was trying to like, hey, it's me, like, give me some free shit.
It wasn't
like,
me.
whoa.
I would know the real guy.
Yeah.
I am a resident of Flavortown.
Amen, sir. Okay.
Speaking of Jeff Lee,
Follow-up
I have to
story,
clear
then.
something up real quick because when that motherfucker was on here, he was like, "Oh yeah, they give all the staff like free, like we have open tabs for our staff," and he was like, because he didn't trust him and they would steal his money. Jeff, and I've talked to Jeff about this too. I was like, it was never like I would never say that about my coworkers. The reason is like we have open, for one, it's just like, a form of like compensation that, but like we insist that, like you have to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What am I going to make you pay for all this shit that you're required to know at work? And, like some of those beers, like, dude, I wouldn't buy a couple of them. Like, I got kids, man.
I can't.
Like, I can't go out drinking like the
cannot
good
afford
shit
to
all
drink
night.
the things that I tend to drink.
That's
after shift.
why.
Fucking Sean.
We have that pause.
Motherfucker.
Dude, I was at work. I had his episode. Like I said, I listened to it when I'm at work, and I was like, what? What the shit? Like, I made me out like some kind of bastard. But I
shout out
told
to
him, he's
Jeff.
like, no, I swear that's why. I'm like, dude,
Jeff
they say
Jeff
drugs.
Lee's in timeout.
They say, yeah. They say drugs don't hurt, man. Come on. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's not interrupting.
perfect.
That was perfect.
That was perfect.
You have a question, sir?
No.
What does that mean?
That means
It means if
wrap
you
it up?
have a fuck up story, that
actually,
would be a great
Ron has a
time.
question.
Okay.
He says, wait. Do you miss the Chris trash can days? What is that?
So when I met Ron was running the Weekly Volcano.
Yeah.
And so that was, does anybody here not know what that is? Does everybody know what that is? So they used to like cover bands and stuff. So
Yeah,
when
of
I was in a band, so I used to do a fanzine way back in the day called Trash Can Zine. So it was just like my name. When you're like a young and upcoming like punk rocker kid, you that's just like the Ramones, you just assimilate that name as your own. And so when I got in like playing in bands and stuff, it was just like, there's like this, it's safe to say that I don't look. I always was the singer. I can't play instrument. I can't sing either. But
That's why you were in
I'm a
punk bands.
performer. It's safe to say that I don't look like most people who are up front, and so I was like, I just kept that moniker.
Chris trash can.
Yeah.
All right.
I do miss those days. Man.
Yeah?
Those were, yeah. I'm happy where I'm at now. But yeah, those were some
Yeah.
some good times, man, for sure.
It's weird. like, I get asked that too, because everybody's got previous life shit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, like, do you miss those? And like, mine also came with like a fucking nickname that
Yeah.
I didn't give myself, and was like, I have this like whole world of people who kind of know me as this one thing.
Yeah.
And then like occasionally they'll like creep over into what I'm doing now.
Right.
And
And
it's
like,
like,
who do you
fuck.
know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The last band I was ever in, there was actually, so it was Don from E9.
Yeah.
He
All
was in
right.
it. Chris Wilson, who's over at E9,
Yep.
other place, he was in it. My brother was in it. So those were my
Chris Trash Can.
Yeah. That was me. So it's funny you bring that up, because my daughter had some stuff, my daughter's 21 and moved out, but we were storing some stuff in the garage, and I had some old records out there, and she was like, what the fuck is this? Like, that's your old man.
Yeah. Previous life, man.
Right? But when you're making those, like when you're back, you're like, one day my kids are gonna find this and they're gonna be like, you're the coolest, and they were just like, like fucking weirdo.
Hey, you just saved me 3 bins worth of stuff.
Yeah.
That I've been hanging on to. Like, no.
I remember
when I'm dead, they're gonna go through this and be like, fucking
Yeah.
dad
Really
was so
cool.
rad.
I gave her like,
To the garbage.
I was like, here. We had, in my small career, I'd put out records like in Italy and stuff, and I had like saved up like
Damn,
multiple
son.
copies, and I was like, I was like, hey, here. This
What
your old
band is
man.
this? What band is this?
I was in a band called Gold Teeth. That was the last one, and I was in a band called Mexican Blackbirds. That was like the one that we did a lot of stuff on, but that was in. It was a long time ago.
It's all right.
Over 20 years ago.
We don't have to do that.
But anyway, I'd like saved copies of everything. And I'm like, when I have kids, I'm going to be like, check it out. And so I like gave it to her. And I'm like, hey, did you listen to that? And she's like, yep. That's it. But I was
And
like,
you got to roll with Tacoma.
yeah,
Yeah.
rest in peace.
Yep.
And
Fucking
J-Lo,
cheers.
rest in peace,
Yep.
man. Those guys. Some good Tacoma stalwarts there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Dude, Tacoma
Yeah.
famous is like a very specific kind of famous. And
Yeah, man,
Tacoma,
that's
man.
rough. Those guys had some good times with those guys.
yeah, man. Fuck up story? Do we have time for one?
You got time? You got one?
Dude, I got a fuck up story, but it's not short. So I don't know.
Go for it.
Okay.
Dad
So
says you can stay out late tonight.
I'll keep it as short as I can, and you got to keep it like I'm not going to name a lot of people or locations.
Oh, well, never
I was
mind.
banned from a town for 364 days
Rad.
when I was
Sweet.
18 years old. And I'm not going to answer any other questions either. So I used to be involved in rodeo. And so I was at a rodeo at a certain.
I have so many questions.
So I was at a town on the U.S. Canadian border, and I'm not going to say which town it was. And so we went there for this like rodeo. It was a junior rodeo, and I was the only one able to get a hotel room. You could get a hotel room at 18 then. I think you have to be 21 now. But so I got this hotel room for me and like my homies that we would all ride together.
Who are all children.
No, they were like 17, 18, but I was the only one that had like a debit card, and and so we stayed at this hotel, had a big raging party, met this hippie that was stuck in America because he had drug charges and couldn't get back into Canada. Had this raging party. Like when you think of like your youth and you think of like 3 parties, like this was definitely one of them.
All right.
And I remember like I woke up in the morning and there was like puke and like someone ground like deodorant in the carpet. There was like the bathroom was wrecked, the screens, the curtains,
Was
they were
Jeff Lee
gone. Like it was like crazy. There was a fight.
Was someone's head on a block of cheese?
That's what I know.
Dude, and
Sounds
so
where it's
like I
going,
remember
man.
I was like, let's go to the restaurant next door, and we go to the restaurant next door, which was owned by the hotel.
Oh.
And then I remember coming back, and there's like maids outside of the room, like shaking their like it was fucking bad.
Like a bunch of NFL officials
and
conferring.
I had the room for like for the 2 nights. This was on the first night, and they were like, "You're fucking kicked out."
Oh
like,
my God.
Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, and so I was like, well, we'll go to the rodeo grounds because they had campgrounds there, and I go to the rodeo grounds, and they called me like over the PA. They're like, come to the what the hell was his name? He was like the rodeo director.
Yeah.
He owned the hotel.
Oh my God.
He was also some sort of official of the town. And they were like,
those towns.
I know.
Yeah.
This sounds like
okay. And
so familiar.
and side note, I was no good at rodeo. I was a poser. But it was just like, I was just having a I with some
what
friends.
has your fucking life been, Chris?
I'll tell you that.
God damn it.
So anyway, I go to the rodeo the next day, and they docked, like, you earn points for each rodeo you go to over the season, course of the season. And they docked me like 150, and which was like, your season's over, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, whatever, I'm just going to have like a huge party and like ride it out. And I remember me and another guy, we got in a race to who could drink 48 Busch Lights the fastest. And I made it to 47, and he got pissed and pulled the chair out from under me, and I broke my nose.
Oh my God.
And so, okay, so this is night 2. And so woke up the next morning, my nose is like, I don't know if you can see my nose, it's really messed up. I've broken it like 13 times, I think.
Jesus.
Anyway, and I was like, so the day they were like, there's like a parade, right, for these small rural towns that don't have anything going on when a rodeo comes to town. You have a parade, and everybody like rides down in the back of your truck in the hay, like, And we drove past the hotel, hand to God. The sign on the front of the hotel said, Chris Miller, go to hell. That's my story.
That is the greatest fucking outro of all time. And we've had some good ones.
And
shit.
one of the guys I rode with, the hippie, I mentioned the hippie that couldn't get into Canada on a drug charge. They dressed him up like a cowboy and smuggled him into Canada. Never met the guy ever. So,
Fucking awesome.
Did he provide the drugs for the party?
yes, he did.
That sounds like a question to me, Doug.
I sort of assumed that.
That's fucking great. All right. Go for it, Sean.
Thank you, Ron. All right, Grit and Grainers. Email us at cheers@gritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and frank discussions about how, in this dog-eat-dog world, the Red Hot's dog days are still top dog. No pun intended. We read and drink everything we receive, and we'll try to respond as quickly as we can. If not online, then on air, or possibly never. You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. And please leave us a review. Also, check us out on Channel 253 and gritandgrainpodcast.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for episode notes, beer news, and inspirational messages encouraging mild transformational upheavals of self-involving sex and poetry and beer blends. But the problem always seems to be a decided lack of viable, practical action when you're just sort of sitting there, atrophying and sighing heavily and feeling your spine compress. But of course, all it really takes is one vivid experience featuring tatted cooks spreading peanut butter onto a hot dog, or perhaps a baseball-loving bartender modeling a Wienermobile t-shirt, pouring you a blend of Diamond Knot Honey Cream Ale and E9 Brewing Beer de Garde, and calling it a Thai France home run, and you begin to realize there is no place like home. Aww. If this podcast is not what you expected, please alter your expectations. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Noah.
Noah who?
Know a good place where I can find some delicious hot dogs?
Where, Chris?
The Red Hot.
No such thing as a bad time to visit Tacoma. No such thing as too much barley wine. Woo! Tune in next Friday for more sweet chatter. Cheers.
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 Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Grit and Grain Podcast wherever you get your social media and catch new episodes every Friday. Cheers.
This is Channel 253.
Good up.